Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and it's time to take a look at another Generation 1 Transformer toy. And today we're going to be taking a look at another 2-pack of cassettes. It's been a long time since we've covered any of the cassette figures. So let's do the ones that also came out with the original line. We have Ravage and Rumble. Ravage and Rumble were first made available in 1984 with the first wave of Transformers. They would also be available in 1985 and also in 1986. They would finally be discontinued from the line in 1987. Now, in the course of that, Ravage would get replaced that year by Apeface. But poor Rumble here would not get a replacement until 2 years later in 1989 with Ice Pick. Quite a stark contrast in their replacements, wouldn't you say, folks? Let's get the guests out of the way here. Now, we're going to take a look at each guy individually, show them off, show how to transform them, and give a little bit of background info on each one. We'll start off by taking a look at Ravage. Ravage, of course, as you know, became a Jaguar instead of a robot. Of course, this side looks a little bit better. It doesn't have all the cassette label kibble on it, so this one does look a little bit better on this side. And of course, articulation-wise, he's pretty different from your standard robot, but he does have quite a bit on him. You can move the head up and down. See, you can look downward at slight angle, probably stare down a Micromaster just beneath him, or you can look straight up in the air. You can even look behind him, but that looks pretty silly. It's more for transforming him. You can also move his tail, but again, that's more to transform than any other practical use. Does have various points of articulation on his legs. The front legs have a joint right here at the base of the body. There's also what would be a knee joint that would allow you to straighten his legs out, like so. And there is a joint at the ankle. For the back legs, they don't have the knee joint, but they do have one at his hips. And there is, again, one at the ankle. So Ravage can be posed in quite a few different ways. The only problem with some of that is that he is somewhat difficult to keep standing, so you might want to keep him with all 4 feet firmly planted on the ground. Okay, now to transform Ravage, we need to start by, of course, removing his accessories. And we'll start here with his back legs. You just fold the... Nope, we don't. Wrong way. We gotta start with the front legs. Take his front legs. You'll bring them straight out. Fold the feet under. And then fold them in inside. You gotta shift them at the hip so that his feet right here go right against his belly just before the hip. Takes a little practice to get it. The next, you will take the back feet and swing them so that they come up to his butt and then fold up underneath like so. Then you'll take his head, fold it up all the way onto his back, and then fold his tail up just like that. And we'll turn him around here so you can see how the cassette looks. And this doesn't look too bad. I mean, I'm not too big a fan of these little extra holes down here at the bottom. But on the bright side, this was all a paint application here on the backside. This is not a sticker like it was on so many other Transformers cassettes. So this is a thing of beauty here. This one's in pretty good shape, considering. So that's not too bad. Now to take a look at Ravage's accessories real fast. Ravage, of course, came with these two proton bombs. And yes, they are different. As you can see, here they are hollow on the backside. So basically, they have a scope and a wing that come out of them, facing in opposite directions. At least these wings are always facing opposite directions. The scopes will always be on top. And there's really not much down here on the bottom. So, something to keep an eye on when you're buying a loose Ravage. You do need one for the right hip and one for the left hip. And there we go on Ravage. And then now we'll take a look here at Rumble. Now, I know there's going to be some fans out there that are going to argue that this has to be Frenzy because Rumble was blue in the cartoon. Well, under the Hasbro directives when they released this toy, this is Rumble. I mentioned a little bit of that argument in my video for Frenzy, Laserbeak, and Ratbat, so if you're interested in hearing that debate, please check out that video, because we're not going to waste any time on it here. This is Rumble. He used the exact same mold as Frenzy. He's also got a lot of wear on him, as you can see from these stickers that decorate his legs, but also, like the original version of Frenzy, he has metal feet, so that's always a nice bonus perk. But you do have to kind of keep an eye on this gold paint here on his chest, because it does tear up pretty easily. He just dropped his dropped his one gun here. Put that back on for a moment. Of course, like his buddy Frenzy, he can hold his gun either mounted on his wrist, or you can mount them to his backside, and he can now attack flying opponents, too. Unfortunately, Hasbro did not give him any sort of add-on to do the pile drivers that he was famous for using throughout the cartoon. But otherwise, in terms of articulation, he and Frenzy match on that. He's got a joint at the shoulder. Let's get the gun out of the way. He has a joint at the shoulder, so you can raise his arm up about so far. There is one at the elbow, so it does allow you to bend the elbow so far. The shoulder also does allow for full 360-degree rotation. And he does have a joint at the hip that does allow his legs to split apart like so. He can't quite do a full split, or maybe he can. Let's get the legs up all the way here. Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. He can do a full splits. Anybody know any countries for the upcoming Olympics that could use somebody that can do at least a full splits? We got Rumble here. Okay, it's serious now. Let's transform Rumble. I'm getting rid of the other gun. Okay, to transform Rumble, you're going to rotate his arms so that these metal bars here that you see, they're pointing upward, because you're going to fold his hands right on top of them. And then you're going to bring them up on his shoulders, push his head down, and put his arms so that the hands go in and hold his head inside. Like so. And then next, you're going to take his legs, you're going to push the feet back inside. Then next, you're going to turn the legs like so that the labels face each other. And then you just fold them up along the sides. And then, there you go. Rumble's in cassette mode. Turn him around to the other side here. Now, unfortunately, this side is predominantly sticker, as you can clearly see here. There is some obvious signs of wear. The adhesive has been warped from, I'm guessing, some rough play. So this isn't my original Rumble. My original Rumble has long been MIA. So if you're looking to buy a Rumble on the aftermarket, you're definitely going to want to check and see how good his stickers are. And of course, check out this gold paint here on the backside. Okay, just lay flat, hang loose. Going on to his accessories, which I just dropped one on the floor. Accessory-wise, he comes with these two laser rifles. Again, there'll be one for the right and one for the left. Unlike Frenzy, he does not have a chance for gold guns like this. So if you find a Rumble that has gold guns, somebody has switched them with Frenzy. And one other thing you want to look out for on these guns is to keep an eye out for cracks on the base of either of these two fins here on the one side. So, I mean, these are very thin plastic. They will break if you put too much stress on them. So you will want to watch for that, because if one of these is broken, he will not be able to hold the gun on his wrist like this, like he does. That one would only be confined to his backside. And of course, if you're a real fussy collector on that, this is all chrome, just like on Ravage. So if chrome's an issue for you, better keep an eye on that. And that's Rumble for you. Okay, moving right along now, we're going to take a look at his file card. And unfortunately, this one is not in the best of shape, as you can clearly see. Oh, well, beggars can't really be choosers, necessarily. We turn it around to the back side. At least this side's still usable. You can see these guys were worth 1 robot point. The instructions start with Rumble as to how to transform him. And then it goes on to Ravage. So not too bad. And then we go over here, rotating it this way, and you will see the tech specs for them. And we'll take a look. We'll start with Ravages. It's got a picture of Ravage that would match, somewhat reversed though, but it would match the picture on the front of the card. It's done up in purple to show he's a Decepticon. It even says so up there. It gives his name as Ravage and lists his function as Saboteur. His motto is, "Today's Autobots are tomorrow's scrap metal." Ravage operates best alone, a creature of the night, craftiest of all Decepticons, adept at devising deadly new strategies. Remains aloof from others, but his deeds command their respect. Can virtually escape detection, emits an electromagnetic emission shield, has a soundless walk, Disappears in subdued light or shadow. Carries 2 powerful heat-seeking missiles. Light sensitive, can be blinded. And we'll go over here and we'll put the decoder over Ravage's skill sets, and let's see what it says. It gives his strength as 5, his intelligence is 8, his speed is 5, his endurance is 6, his rank is 7, his courage is 4, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 10. Now, I think his courage stat is a little low for somebody as good as they say he is. That kind of comes off as probably a misnomer. Now we'll come down here, and we got the same thing here. Decepticon picture of how he is on the front, and his name is Rumble, and it gives his function as Demolitions. His motto is, destroy what's below, and what's above will follow. Rumble is your basic street punk. Small but always acting tough. Quick temper and mean disposition. Follows Megatron's orders eagerly. Transmits immense low-frequency ground waves to create powerful earthquakes. So this kind of contradicts in the cartoon. This kind of says that he channels it through his feet. The cartoon probably improved it by giving him the pile drivers so that it would make a nice visual. His small size limits his physical strength, but his ability to shatter the ground makes him difficult to approach in a fight. That's true, but let's put the decoder over his stats and let's take a look at him. It gives Rumble's strength as 2. His intelligence is 5. His speed is 2. His endurance is 9, his rank is 5, his courage is 7, his firepower is 8, and his skill is 5. So he's pretty weak in a fist fight, but he kind of makes up for some of it on his other stats. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Ravage and Rumble? Ravage is definitely top-tier material. He definitely epitomizes the ideals behind the Decepticons by being a fierce warrior. He's very crafty and cagey, and he always is willing to follow his orders and goes above and beyond to come up with his own strategies that befits his own usefulness. His ability to hide himself in the shadows just helps add to his coolness. He knows how to hide and take full advantage of all natural cover to get in and do his job. I mean, if he could stand upright and wear a cape, he'd almost be Batman. Rumble, however, he's more of a middle-tier character, and a lot of that goes to the fans of him from over the years. His pile driver ability would have been nice to have included on the toy, even if it was just a little add-on purchase or something to get in the mail with some of all these robot points. That would have been a nice add-on for the toy. I mean, it shouldn't come as much surprise that many tribute Rumbles that are dedicated to this original toy do include some form of the pile drivers so that you can simulate that in play. That was always something that I was disappointed with as a child, that you couldn't do that, but then again, that's where imagination comes in, right, folks? But Rumble also limits his effectiveness by the fact that he really isn't that tough in a fight. He makes up for it with his pile driving ability, and with that to create very strong earthquakes. That does help him, especially when he first came out. There weren't a lot of flying Autobots. The only one that could fly in 1984 was Sideswipe with a jetpack on his back. It wasn't until 1985 that we started getting flying Autobots, and with the addition of the aerial bots in 1986, there was more than enough Autobot air power to take care of this little guy and avoid his attacks. So by then, Rumble kind of outlived his usefulness in the Decepticon army, since now there's so many Autobots that can fly, or hopefully more that would have probably treated Rumble in the same manner that we saw in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, what Indiana Jones did to the sword-swinging guy in Cairo. Just pull out a gun and shoot him and be done with it. Naturally, in the cartoon aimed for children, the good guys couldn't do that, but it's almost a surprise nobody else has thought of that. But either way, together, I think the two of them are worthy additions to your Decepticon army. I mean, Ravage is definitely more useful than Rumble, but Rumble's not so bad that he drags down the army. He does have his uses, so definitely these guys are a must-have for your collection. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Decepticon cassettes, Ravage and Rumble. If you liked the video, thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And please do leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you thought of Ravage and Rumble. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.